here with David Boyle, who is the creator of, do you want to introduce it, David?
This is the exhibition of the workings of the universe.
Okay. Now, the first question that I'm going to ask you that interests me is about the UFO cover-up or the playing down of the UFO subject. And I think it's pretty well accepted by many people that the UFOs are real and that they have been covered up for many, many years. Now, do you think that there was what's your belief of the reason for the cover-up and whether there is something greater at work which is the cause of that cover-up?
Without doubt, the cause of the cover-up is by the same groups of people, beings, consciousnesses that have decided that they want to maintain the status quo for the people and the benefit of those that's had the status quo for a long time. And of course, the arrival of ETs would take away the controlling element of religions, because straight away the religious belief systems that control a lot of people's minds, people who have not had the opportunity or the time to sit down and think about things themselves, who have fallen into the trap of being, because your parents took you to church and did these aspects. And we realise today that religion is one of the major contributors to the control of the mind. It actually means today really the restriction of knowledge to the masses. You're no longer allowed to, in religious organisations, to pass from one to another information. Even in a Christian organisation, you go from one type of denomination to another, you'll get bell-booked and candled, and yet they're the same supposed religious beliefs. So you start to look around at the controlling of people. How are people controlled? And the greatest way to control a lot of people by a small group has always been the same: divide and conquer. So get a lot of people to be brought up with one religious belief in one area, and another group in another area to be brought up with a religious belief. It's then very, very easy to create strife and strike between the two. Divide and conquer while you take the power. Okay. And that's one of the aspects. And control of religion, of course, is one of the three major aspects of the mental control of all people on the planet.
Okay. And we've spoken about the Anunnaki. Could you tell us what you believe the Anunnaki are, and just give us a broad outline as to when they first came to the Earth?
Well, I've written quite a lot of information about the Anunnaki. I've studied it in great depths. The Anunnaki, Anunnaki, you've been shown this in many TV points and programs. The Anunnaki are the people who visited this planet. The first arrival on this planet were about 415,000 years ago. And they visited this planet and wanted the materials and minerals of it. So they came down and stayed on this planet for a considerable period of time. The remnants of their earlier civilizations, which were far more technologically advanced, coming from different planets to travel to here, are still all over the planet. The only material that lasts a considerable period of time, of course, is stone. It's the only thing that vibrates to the vibrations of the Earth. And when you look around and see what's available, you can see that the destruction of everything else, material, metals, all disappear. Really, anything that lasts more than 20,000 years is basically only precious metals, jade, a few bones, pottery and stone. And to look at the gigantic stone monuments that are around today of a technology far in advance of ours opens your mind. We're not talking of theory. Go have a look at the base of Baalbek in the Lebanon. Now this city, according to certain reports, is dated by our scientists who who have got vested interests, who make it so they only are allowed to give out the information that the people who control them allow them. Many honourable scientists will tell you this quietly, but will not sit in front of a camera and tell you. The stones of Baalbek weigh approximately between 800 and other ones still mined are over around 2,000 tonnes. But even an 800-tonne stone, I mean, we've watched many recreations of movement of ancient monuments on television with laughter. You know, because I mean, the people who were supposed to have rebuilt the pyramids and moved the stones from Stonehenge, I mean, when you watch the attempt to do it with the technology that they're supposed to have at the time, you know it couldn't possibly be done. The building of the Great Pyramids and the other pyramids that were built at the same time. I mean, they never tell you this. They never tell you that the time they built the Great Pyramid, they were also building the pyramids of the Red Pyramid and the Bent Pyramid. And these were all being lined up. And the size and the construction of the material, the stones at Baalbek, cut from a quarry, moved across uneven ground, right, in at least 5,000 to 6,000 BC, according to our scientists. And we're going to tell you they're much, much, much older than that. In fact, they're even before 10,500 BC. Yep. Those blocks of stone were impossible to move by our technology till recently. So how did hairy barbarians using antlers move it? It's a lie. Come on, use your intelligence, use your knowledge, go look at them. Anyone who's actually been and looked at the Great Pyramid itself, the massive scale of it. I mean, somebody told us, it first wrote down there's 2.25 million blocks of stone. And now mathematicians are going to tell you there's over 3.5 million blocks of stone. And then you can see cover-ups. They tell you they're tombs for pharaohs. And then you look and find out nearly all the pharaohs were buried in the Valley of the Kings. And of course, why are they telling us tombs for pharaohs? Because of course, they want to maintain the stories that's been imposed on us. You see, our societies are run by religious beliefs and systems for approximately 2,000 years, certainly in the Christian religious belief. The Muslims came about 600 years later. But then, of course, divide and conquer. So you've got the heads of the religions telling us to be humble, gentle and share. Does the Pope or the Queen share? Does the religious organisations in the world share? No. Of course, by the time you realise this, you've been at church, you've given a good percentage of your money, you've maintained their structure, power and wealth, and then we're too old to do anything about it, and we pop off, of course, before we realise that these people know what they're doing.
One question, David. Do you think there is any actual direct controlling influence on the Illuminati through or via alien beings, or do you think that's purely a human construct?
Well, we've gone a long way on evolution in that concept, in that question, haven't we? Illuminati, is there a direct control over them by extraterrestrials? Of course, until just before 2000, most certainly there was. Okay. The Illuminati means illuminated. That means they understand the light. They have the knowledge. Light is normally wisdom and information, data, put together to give you the true workings of the universe. Those Illuminati members who know the truth. And we must go back to the ancient comments that come through forward. Knowledge is power, power is control. If you have that knowledge, you keep it to yourself. That's why we have a plethora of secret societies on this planet.
Could you describe them, David, the secret societies? And you mentioned before the different families that are involved in the Illuminati. Could you elaborate on that a little bit?
Well, yes, there's so many different families that's involved in it, and there's so many aspects of it. You basically only need to look around where the maintains of power and wealth are stuck in the past, where the same people and same families seem to hold the positions of power or the positions of wealth. And you can follow it through very quickly. The Illuminati themselves are groups of systems. I mean, you want to talk about secret societies, Masons, Freemasons, Knights Templars, Rosicrucians, Jesuits, Zionists, Opus Dei, Tavistock Institute, Jason Scholars. There's loads and loads and loads of them. And of course, these people in many cases go through initiation stages where parts of the true workings of the universe are explained to them. We then, of course, usually swear gigantically horrendous oaths to maintain that society, which are then pressurised by the people that surround them to make sure that they keep to those levels. So the knowledge is kept in the hands of a few, while the majority of people are just nothing more than slaves, basically, food for collectors. Go to work, earn your money, live it nice and easy, don't cause a problem, and we'll look after you, so we'll farm you properly, so you keep doing all the work.
And do you think any of the higher echelons of the Illuminati are being controlled by aliens, or do you think it's purely a human being control?
That's a question that goes back to the knowledge of what we actually are. And the comment that comes around to us, every single person on this planet has two guides with you, two consciousnesses in higher dimensions that are with you. Some people call these guardian angels and guides. And of course, if you get into the higher levels of knowledge that come through from the earlier religions, particularly in the East, you realise that you have what they call the silver threads. And that's the thread of energy that passes from your third eye into the earth, and a second thread of energy that passes from the top of your crown chakra into the centre of the sun. So basically, if you've got threads of energy that manifest to other bodies, then obviously we are controlled. Are we like radio control cars? Mm-hmm. Of course we are. Right. Are we guided? Are we influenced? Are our great teachers inspired? Of course they are. Where does that information come from? I mean, if you go to Egypt, you'll find in the Temple of Philae, there's a plaque on the side that shows you the flutes and little people playing flutes. And of course, a certain famous musician wrote the magic flute from sitting in that position, influenced by not just the stones, but by the thoughts and the musics. I mean, there are times our great artists and musicians and other even builders will suddenly turn around and say, where did that come from? I got this inspiration. I woke up in the middle of the night. I mean, that's happened to me actually, on a production of Power, and woke up in the middle of the night. So where did that come from? And then you know the answer to it. So who's giving you those answers? And the answer is the same people. So we're not all individuals on this planet created and controlled, but we do have free will. So of course, when you know, and I mean, when I first realised this and found it out, I was the most awkward person to be guided by, because the moment I got do this or do that, I did the exact opposite or something totally different.
Yeah.
Until I realised that actually I was going along the path that they were doing, because they'd outthought me. So I started to deviate and do what was not right. And then after a while I proved to myself that I'm in charge, and that I can be guided, I can be shown, I can be explained. And if I'm explained in consciousness and how things are correct, then I will listen and follow. But when I'm trying to be forced, I mean, that's a human trait with everybody.
Yeah.
You don't like to think you're not in control.
Yeah.
Well, you are in control of your physical body, it's yours, for the duration that you've got it.
Yeah.
And it's the greatest gift of the universe.
Okay.
Because with your physical body, I can communicate with you. I can communicate with other consciousnesses around. I can live in the world. I can move myself from A to B. The gift of a human body with the senses. We can sense beauty. We can give and receive love. We can give and receive hatred. The choice of being good and bad is yours.
Yeah, okay, that's a good answer. And what about the future, David? I mean, there are a lot of rumours about 2012, the possible return of Nibiru,
Yes.
this kind of thing. Do you have, what's your feel just for the future in general?
Well, the future in general is, I think right now you're seeing the last of the really negative echelons on the side. I do feel there's going to be 4 periods when we're all going to become more sovereign, more individual. We're actually going to wake up. More and more people are listening to intelligent, intellectual conversation and taking note of it. I mean, when you watch the television today, I mean, what an insult to intelligence to listen to what's on that box. It's an idiot's lantern. And it really tells you that there's many aspects of it. I mean, the most horrendous destruction to society is created by the destroying of the family. And the family, of course, is the responsibility of your actions, thoughts, words and deeds. And if you are responsible for your thoughts, words and deeds, you are in charge of yourself. Then, of course, you can't be in that situation. But, of course, as we're evolving and younging and we learn, and we begin to learn, we see what's coming out of the television. I mean, you look at the soaps, what a horror story. How to kill your parents, how to fall out with people, how to fight each other. There's more murders and deaths in Coronation Street and EastEnders than anything. You're being shown deliberately how to do it. Now, I rephrase and go back to the tape. When we were young, we went to school. The teacher would write on the chalkboard, you would copy it. When you see things on the television, you're doing exactly the same, you're copying it. So the people that are producing television programs that show murder, death and destruction, right, is controlled. And that's being induced upon our whole of our society by what you're told, what you thought and what you're doing. So instead of getting programs of love, light, compassion, teaching wonderful things, teaching us how to become harmonious, and balanced and linking in it, what are we getting? Teaching us to be selfish, individual, to fight to her. We're told in this world that there's only one life. That's a total and utter lie. We all live forever because the human body is not you. And when you live forever, right, as it goes on those sections, right, you realise that you become responsible. And I can assure everyone on this planet, you do live forever. And you come back to this planet. This is our planet. It does not belong to Bush, Blair, the royal families, the Illuminati, or even certain periods of ETs. They've all come here with loving grace to show us. We're one of the biggest shocks when people are going to realise that the ETs are benevolent. The higher dimension conscious beings. They have evolved past the desires of individuality and take on the responsibility not only for themselves, for the whole of creation. Okay. And then when you realise everything is made, and we have the capability, we are in creation, we make our own lives, our own thoughts, words and deeds, create our experiences on the planet.
Okay. And do you think there is a disclosure going to come from a government and they're going to admit to knowing about ETs?
Yes,
do you see that,
it's coming. Look at the papers today. The papers, again, are the media. Media is controlled by the same people. All the televisions, radios and newspapers, practically in the entire democratic world, are all controlled by just a couple of groups of organisations.
Precisely.
And when you know that, they're only allowed to do it. I mean, we had a recent incident here in Blackpool when a gentleman died on a stage, having said 2 minutes earlier that he was going to tell us who the Antichrist was, who killed Bobby Kennedy, and was explaining about 9/11. He drops dead. As soon as he starts to talk about it, on the stage in front of 400 people. Was there a word about it in any newspapers? No. I rang the local newspaper and asked them what they were doing about it. And they said they couldn't do anything about it. But of course the front page that day was full about dog shit on the promenade at Blackpool. So I mean, which is more intelligent? A guy who's going out to do this, who drops dead. And of course, a lot of the people there no longer believe that he died of natural causes. Because he was about to release a lot of information that would have been detrimental to the people that have the vested interests.
So do you think there's going to be disclosure?
Yes, there is. Just look at the televisions and newspapers. Look at the Sun newspaper, which is one of the biggest comics you've ever got.
Well,
but I mean, it does tell you.
Read as well.
Well, one of the reasons is if people read it the most, then it's the best place to put information in.
Yeah.
Every single day in the last 2 weeks, practically, there's been either UFOs, other dimensions, other ghosts, variations, and you've got to realise that the UFO phenomena is attached to everything else. People say it's separate. It's separate from the understanding of the control of the planet. No, it's not. It's part of what's actually going on. All of the understanding there. We on this planet have lived in a massive total illusion. The illusion of history is a total and utter lie. The archaeology of the stones doesn't match the stories. When you check it out, it's all there. We're also told we only live once. I've already mentioned this. That's a total other lie. Because when you only live once, you grab everything you can at this time and think that you're going to be successful. Well, the pharaohs showed you. You can't take the money with you. Grave robbers got it, right? We've come here to learn the hyperdimensional experiences of courage, wisdom and heart, which are shown to us in many programs. And when we understand that we're here to become partnership, to love, to learn, to share, to become harmonious, to learn to get on with, right? To experience life and enjoy it. Yeah. Laughter is the greatest happiness, the greatest joy. There's so many ill people walking around the planet today because their mindsets have been given such dark entities and such dark energies given to us by the televisions, the radios and the newspapers with a constant barrage of negativity, destruction, end of the world, end of a load of crap. Okay. I'm going to tell you that the year 2012 will come and go exactly as the year 2000 did, exactly as 6666 did, okay. As exactly as the others. The next day will follow on the same. The only difference is by that time, the average mankind on the planet will have woke up, will no longer believe the box of the lies from officialdom, but is able to work things out, will be self-thinking, will be able to think outside the box, and will suddenly realise the illusion that we've all lived in, and will say enough's enough, no more. Right. And people will not follow the lead of the governments. Right. One of the greatest fears I see right now, and one of my greatest heartaches, is all over the world. In the last few weeks and a few months, you've seen the destruction in Gaza. You've seen the total one-sided view of the media, of the destruction. I mean, you get so much interviews, you see these odd single missiles fired at random into areas, landing in an area, and that gets more coverage than direct bombing from the most advanced planes dropping the most dedicated munitions into the middle of collapsed cities. And why, of course, was no reporters allowed in? Because, of course, the death toll that we were told is only what we've been told. And the numbers that have died are far advanced of what they were told. Right now, it's a part of genocide. But it's no worse than the British and the Americans. I mean, we've got some people who cannot understand that they are responsible for their thoughts, words and deeds. And we all know that our biggest thought or our biggest deed is our own actions. And we all know that the worst crime any of us can commit is the one of the destruction of the life of a fellow human being. And in my cases, I say a lot of animals as well, right? And in fact, the very planet. And we've got people who go out and murder other people for the benefit of others. How can you possibly say somebody using infrared, guiding in missile bombs from 10 miles away against people with rifles and rocket-propelled grenades walking across the countryside, who, by the way, are in their country? We have invaded their country. We are the insurgents, not the other way around. You see, it's the way that you present yourself that gives it to you. So, of course, these are the same people who are orientated. It's when the soldiers are going to realise, why do you think we've had 3 British soldiers commit suicide in the last few weeks? Because they realise they're committing murder. They're killing with advanced technology. For the benefit of who? For the benefit of those that's always had all the money, power and wealth, who haven't controlled their desires. All these rich bankers, it's a total disgrace. Do you not realise we're being wound up? We're being shown. It's so blatant in your face. I mean, this bonus culture which is going on now is an absolute load of crap. A bonus should only be given to a company that's made a net profit on top of all their expenses, paid all the debts off, and then if there's anything left over, right, having to done all that, then you can divide it into bonuses. To pay a bonus for somebody doing something when the company itself is in debt, and then to have people who put money into that company losing it while this guy gets millions, it's immoral. Yeah. It's not illegal. That's because, of course, the people at the top who run the powers, who run the money, who are doing those things, those people are taking as big bonuses. You've even shown that in the paper. The people that's doing it, how long do we have to tolerate it? I mean, to then mortgage it to our grandchildren, it's a disgrace. And don't tell me this is separate from the religions and separate from aliens and UFOs. It's not. because these people are quite well aware that we are surrounded now in this solar system by thousands of benevolent species who keep dropping into the society so we can see them in the skies. They're not going to land, because if they did land, we would kill them. We'd kick them to death, we'd shoot them, we'd destroy them. How could we possibly be exposed in our animalistic instincts of self-preservation, which we all have, and greed and opulence, to meet an ET? These intelligent beings, of course, are here. They care and love us that much that they wouldn't fire back. That's why we've been able to destroy them and shoot them down. That's why there's such an advanced technology in America. When the Roswell crash gave us silicon chips, light-emitting diodes, supertendency fibres, which of course made America's Silicon Valley the most advanced country in the world in that form of technology. And of course I thank them for that, because for the first time for 2,000 years, I can get information off the internet, not controlled by the royal families, the religious leaders, the global elites, those that know the real truth, who keep the knowledge to themselves. Well, it's time to share that knowledge. And I've spent my lifetime here in this exhibition learning, and now have displayed it. We have over 150 boards, 8 foot by 4 foot, as the boards to the left here, right, show, of all the information in mathematics and geometry, the complete explanation of the ETs, all the ancient monuments, how to decode them, the phenomena of crop circles. All these are all interlinked, all part of the same, to the control. And of course, it's time to share this knowledge, not to keep it ourselves.
And the name of the exhibition, David?
Is the Exhibition of the Universe. We're situated on the Central Promenade at Blackpool, opposite Central Pier, on the corner underneath the Happy Days Amusement Arcade.
Right. Okay then, David, that was fantastic. Thank you very much indeed. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.